24 hours ago, the world of professional wrestling lost three men. Three men you see in this photograph right here. The gentleman in the middle, known as Brickhouse Brown. The man on the left, Brian Christopher. And the man on the far right, WWE Hall of Famer, Nikolai Volkov. Tonight, we dedicate this edition of Ridiculously Raw to the memories of all three men here tonight. Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Ridiculously Raw. I am Anthony Floyo, joined as always by Girl MF Michael Fletcher. We got Michael Bullock, we got Dee Dee Woodson. Very sad day in the world of professional wrestling. Sunday, our own Derek Ferreira reported that all three of these men all passed away. And Derek didn't do much of a tribute to Brickhouse Brown, but he did a video paying his respects to Nikolai Volkov and Brian Christopher. You can check it out on his YouTube channel, Bullet Club Soldier 445, for the full version. We're going to give you the Cliff Notes version, if you will, because of time constraints on our end. So let's not waste any more time. Brickhouse Brown passed away at the age of 57, just a couple of weeks before his 58th birthday. His 58th birthday would have been on August 11th, but fortunately he passed away. He was he had been diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer in April of 2017, and in May, the cancer spread to his brain, and despite treatment that impaired his eyesight and reduced his weight, and several Southern promotions held benefit shows to help pay his medical bills, and he was reported dead from the prostate cancer. And he was a New Age Wrestling Alliance heavyweight champion and a two-time tag team champion, an NWA Battle Zone Mississippi heavyweight champion, NWA Mid-South heavyweight champion, a NWA Southeastern tag team champion with Norvell Austin. When he won the NAWA tag titles, he was a two-time champion with CJ Stardust. South's Greatest Wrestling Fans was their heavyweight champion, a USWA television champion, a USWA World Tag Team champion with three different partners, Sweet Daddy Falcone, The Gambler, and Reggie B. Fine. And in World Class Championship Wrestling, he was a WCWA Texas heavyweight champion. He was 58 years old. Well, 57 years old, rather, Brickhouse Brown. Brian Christopher, as you all know, the son of another WWE Hall of Famer, Jerry the King Lawler, and best known for his gimmick as Grandmaster Sexay with Too Cool and Scotty 2 Hotty and Rikishi. You all know that. It was pretty much a suicide. I mean, on the early morning, he was found hanging in a cell at the Hardeman County Jail. It was observed to be brain dead. His life support was disabled after his father, Jerry the King Lawler, had arrived to the hospital to bid his farewell. He was pronounced dead at around 4:40 at the age of 46. He had numerous legal issues. Of course, his accomplishments, as you all know, Hoosier Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champion with Doug Gilbert, a Lethal Attitude Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, Memphis Superstars of Wrestling Junior Heavyweight Champion, Memphis Wrestling Southern Heavyweight Champion, and a television champion, NWA North American Tag Team Champion with the Spellbinder, New South Heavyweight Champion, PCWL Heavyweight Champion, PPW Television Champion, ranked number 360 out of the 500 best singles wrestlers of the PWI years in 03, Ultimate Christian Wrestling Tag Team Champion with Billy Jack, in the USWA 26 time, I kid you not, this is according to Wikipedia, 26 time USWA Heavyweight Champion, a one-time Junior Heavyweight Champion, 8-time Southern Heavyweight Champion, one-time Texas Heavyweight Champion, 6-time World Tag Team Champion, Big Black Dog, one time, Scotty Anthony, one time, Jeff Jarrett twice, Eddie Gilbert once, and Wolfie D one, and a one-time WWF Tag Team Champion with Scotty 2 Hotty as part of Too Cool. And, you know, he's surely going to be missed. It's a damn shame, you know, legal issues. And He was arrested for DUI, and that was pretty much the end of that. And then, of course, Nikolai Volkov, perhaps the most um, the most recognizable of these three names, especially to the older fans like all four of us. He was 70 years old, and he had been treated for dehydration and other issues. Days after being released from that, he passes away. You remember one half of a great tag team with the Iron Sheik, and then of course with Boris Zukov and the Bolsheviks. And he was a NWA Florida Tag Team Champion with Ivan Koloff, NWA Georgia Heavyweight Champion, NWF World Tag Team Champion with Guido Mongol, MCW Hall of Fame, the Maryland Championship Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2009, inducted into that. NWA Mid Atlantic Tag Team Champion with Chris Markoff, a Mid South North American Champion, inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2013. NAW Heavyweight Champion 2 times, NCW Heavyweight Champion once, and NWA Detroit World Tag Team Champion with Boris Volkov. PWI ranked him number 136 of the 500 best singles wrestlers during the PWI years in 03, and was ranked number 96 of the 100 best tag teams with the Iron Sheik in 03 as well. UWA Heavyweight Champion, WWWA Heavyweight Champion, WWF Tag Team Champion with the Iron Sheik, 3-time WWF International Tag Team Champion with Guido Mongol, inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame class in 2005, which, if I'm going to be honest, to this day, I still consider it the greatest Hall of Fame class ever, but that's a story for another day. Won 2 Slammy Awards, Most Ignominious in 86, and Best Personal Hygiene with Boris Zukov and Slick in 87, and a WWA Heavyweight Champion 1 time. So, man alive, three deaths in the span of a day. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about Brickhouse Brown, but I do know about Nikolai Volkov. I mean, I don't know much about, the other promotions he worked in. I only know what he did in the WWF and E. I mean, with the Iron Sheik, I mean, they were entertaining. I mean, the Russian national anthem, I mean, made that a household name. WrestleMania 1, he and the Iron Sheik were responsible for the very first title change in the illustrious history of WrestleMania. That's a great trivia question. Who perpetrated the first title change in the history of WrestleMania? It was the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov when they won the tag team championship from Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham, the U.S. Express at WrestleMania 1. And then, of course, you know what he did with the Bolsheviks, with him and Boris Zukov, with the Russian national anthem thing. That was good as well. Of course, he turned face in 90 and formed a partnership with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. SummerSlam in 1990, they went up against the Orient Express. And, of course, before the match, they paid tribute to the legendary Kate Smith when they did their rendition of God Bless America, which I know a lot of people weren't really feeling, honestly. But Nikolai Volkov, a great wrestler, especially him and the Iron Sheik. I mean, they were fun to watch, especially when they were the tag champions in '85. And he's going to be sorely missed. And he took his rightful place in the WWE Hall of Fame in 2005. I still consider that the greatest class of all time because he went in there with Hogan and Piper and Sheik, Orndorff, Jimmy Hart, Cowboy Bob Orton. That's a loaded class, man. That's all I can say. And he's surely going to be missed. Fun to watch, and we'll never forget the memory of Nikolai Volkov. And of course, Brian Christopher, started out as a light heavyweight in the WWE. Had that great feud with Taka Michinoku when they brought in the light heavyweight championship, late '97 into '98. And then they teamed him up with Scott Taylor, Scotty 2 Hotty. They were too much at first, and that gimmick was stale as moldy bread. And then, of course, they became too cool, and the fans. I mean, they weren't really liked at first, but then the fans bought on, and of course, once they brought Rikishi in, that pretty much got them over, and of course with the Worm and the whole 9 yards, and one of the great tag teams of the Attitude Era. I mean, the fans just loved them to death, and especially when they would get down and get funky with each other, with Rikishi and Scotty and Grandmaster Sexay, as he was known. They won the tag team titles on a Monday Night Raw in 2000 when they knocked off Edge and Christian. That was a big moment for them. That was far and away his biggest moment. And didn't really do much after that. They brought him in 2011 during that god-awful angle with Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler. You remember that? Which led to what we still consider to this day the worst match in WrestleMania history. And, he's surely going to be missed. It's a damn shame. All those legal problems, and suicide is not funny, my friends. It's not. Damn shame what happened to him. And, and Brickhouse Brown, like I said, I've never heard of the guy before yesterday, but he was primarily a heel wrestler, and that's all I know. Worked on all those various promotions, like I said. So, on behalf of all of us here at the Wrestling Forum, we would like to send our prayers and our thoughts and our condolences to the families, the friends, and all the colleagues that got to work with Nikolai Volkov, Brian Christopher, and Brickhouse Brown. This show tonight is for you, for all three of you gentlemen. God bless you all. Rest in peace, and we wish you and your families nothing but the best. We're praying for you guys. So, nothing more to say. Good old MF, Michael Fletcher, come on in. Let's get your thoughts. I mean, 3 deaths in one day. Nikolai Volkov, Brian Christopher, Brickhouse Brown, but
actually there was a fourth. Derek actually talked about it privately. There was a fourth death. Trevor Lee's father, who was responsible for the Omega Promotions, which is a territorial area down in the South in the Carolina area, which actually was responsible for the Hardy Boys that brought Matt and Jeff into the wrestling world. He also passed away yesterday as well. So there was a fourth death, but this one was undocumented. It was not really talked about because he was a promoter, not an actual wrestler. Brickhouse Brown, just reading off his bio, was one of the biggest heels, especially in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Basically, he was in the same level as a Triple H as a heel, as a Randy Orton as the heel in the Age of Orton era, but he never was like a WWE guy, a WCW guy. Ring of Honor never looked at this guy. ECW never looked at this guy back in the day. He was really more of an independent promoter, an independent entity. He was pretty popular in the South. Basically, Anthony, you ran down his body of work, but he really wrestled in like states like Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Missouri was like the furthest he ever went. So he was really more a regional wrestling, but just like not too long ago with the unfortunate death of Matt Cappotelli, what really derailed his career was, like you said, because of the cancer. And that really was one of the biggest things about it. And my honest thoughts and prayers are with his entire family in this situation and with everything like that. So, all right. As far as Brian Christopher goes, I was really debating if I should say something or anything. I don't know how comfortable I would have been about any type of tribute, even though WWE did show a graphic of him tonight. And I know Derek would probably want us to talk a little something about it. The reason why I'm very uncomfortable is because, for one, the way he died, and for two, what led to the death. It's kind of, I'm bothered by it. After the WWE days, he had a major problem with alcohol, a major problem with drug use. He literally fell off the rails. Never really recovered. Like you said, there was a DUI arrest, and then on that Saturday, he literally tried to take his own life. He hung himself with his own bed sheet at the county jail. He tried, and unfortunately he succeeded with the suicide. It's something that I was very uncomfortable with when I heard the news. When I heard he passed away, yes, I was shocked and I was sad. But when the details came out, it's tough for me. It's tough for me, especially when we're talking about suicide. I mean, it's probably one of the most uncomfortable things we deal with, we have to talk about on the show. And I genuinely feel it can go either way with me right now. I mean, you know, at such a young age, I feel like it seems like a wasted life. And I don't want to sound cruel or wrong about it, but when you take your own life, I don't know. I just, there's something about it that just, it irks me really, really to the core more than anything else. You know, the demons got to Brian Christopher. That's the best way to say it. The demons got to him. I wish it never happens. I wish things like this didn't happen. There's a million questions running to my head. You know, was there, did WWE ever help him, get him into a rehabilitation program? Where was Jerry Lawler? Where was his girlfriend or his mother? Where was his family when he needed them? There's a million questions. I don't want to answer that. And then I don't even want to get into another thing that happened on social media. Derek posted it, then immediately removed it, which was, I believe, the right thing to do. I'm not even going to reference that because, I'm going to leave it at that. But I don't know. This is one that it's a tough pill to swallow. At least for me, it's a tougher pill to swallow. Nikolai Volkov is, without a doubt, the most recognizable name of the three. It's the biggest name of the three. It's really sad what happened to him, but it was natural causes. It seemed like it was a heart attack or it was natural causes. He was 70 years old. He did so much for WWE and did so much for the World Wrestling Federation, especially in the rock and wrestling era, which was the early 1980s, especially was a part of the first ever WrestleMania. Anthony, we all know about that night. They did become the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions when they won the belts in Madison Square Garden. And the nuclear heat that this guy had for a long time, which was very, very, very evident. He was one of the top heels of WWE for a number of years, but they did change him later on in his career to honor the United States, which was a great thing, even though he is from the United States, guys. So just to let you guys know, even though his character made him a sympathetic figure or originally from the USSR, and then later on from Russia. He was definitely one of the first anti-American heels that you had that got the nuclear heat. You saw the fans throwing the garbage when every time he was singing the Soviet national anthem, the boos ringing in the arena, probably even louder than the night when Michael Bullock and myself went to SmackDown Live when we were hearing the India national anthem for Jinder Mahal on that night, and it was deafening, to say the very least. There was really nothing more to say. He is definitely a legend, a Hall of Famer, and really proved to be one of the best guys of the WWE. And for me, I can't say nothing bad about him. Obviously, my thoughts and prayers are with his entire family. Of all three families, to say the very least, and actually all four, including Trevor Lee's father. My thoughts and prayers are with the guys. There's really nothing more for me to add to that. With that said, Michael Bullock, go ahead. It's yours. Frank.
Yeah. As far as Nikolai Volkov, I mean, he was one of the most popular superstars in the WWE, and I always got a kick out of when he would do the Soviet national anthem, and the fans would boo really loud. That was just funny. And then, of course, what he did in the ring, of course, tagging with the Iron Sheik, and of course, winning the WWE Tag Team titles at the very first WrestleMania. And then of course, he would partner with Hacksaw Jim Duggan and become an American. And of course, he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame back in 2005, and was inducted, of course, by the legendary Jim Ross. I just love this guy. He was so proud to work for for the company, and how can you not like this guy? So that's pretty much all I can say. And as far as Brian Christopher, that's tough. With him committing suicide, after being in jail for DUI, it's like Mike Fletcher just said. The demons just basically finally got to him. It seems like after when he left wrestling, it just seems like his whole life started going in a downward spiral. And the thing is, did WWE try to help? And why didn't Jerry Lawler try to help his son? But unfortunately, it was too little too late, and the demons just finally got to him, and this is what we got. So, that's pretty much all I can say. Like I said, my thoughts and prayers go out to all four of these people who passed away. To their friends, their families, their loved ones. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say. So Dee Woodson, your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, it's solemn to think about the four guys that passed on. I remember a lot of the Nikolai matches, and his battles with the Iron Sheik and all that. Watched a lot of that growing up, and it's hard to think what he went through battling all these years. And then of course Brian, there's a lot of people that don't believe that alcoholism and drugs are a disease, but it's a real addiction, it's a real disease, and it's a dark disease. And when it's untreated, it does end up being fatal, as it was in this particular instance. I don't know much about what was going on with the family or anything. I know the only one I know that really posted anything on it was Jeff Jarrett. I don't know if that's something Fletch was referring to earlier or not, because I didn't see the post from Derek, but I know Jeff Jarrett posted a little something on it. But it's sad. I mean, even though the situation wasn't good, it was grim, because he went downhill really fast and ended up, in jail and everything, and of course tarnishing everything that he had accomplished while he was in WWE. But still, in the end, it's sad that he did pass on, that it did end the way it did. The other two guys I don't know real well. I just know that the one that Matt Hardy had messaged about being with Omega. So my thoughts and prayers are with each and every one of them and their families. So I'm not going to say too much more on it. So it's yours, Florio.
All right. Now we're going to get into the business at hand, which is Monday Night Raw, which, of course, was another show. But, it was solid and newsworthy. But, we still had our usual round of cutouts as usual. But what we're going to start off with here certainly was not a cutout. And that is, before we get into that, let's address it. Monday Night Raw live tonight from the American Airlines Arena in Miami, Florida, the home of the Miami Heat. And we started it off with the big dog, Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns cuts a promo about his upcoming Universal Championship showdown with Brock Lesnar in the SummerSlam. And then he gets interrupted by Paul Heyman. And they have a little back and forth segment. And we'll never forget how he closed the segment by saying he'll send Brock back to the UFC as Roman Reigns' biatch. And okay, so I would probably say maybe second best segment of the night. I mean, it wasn't a bad open, but it's just so much more of the same as Roman promises to win after so many failures. But yet they did manage to get some decent heat on Brock Lesnar and to get Roman Reigns some crowd support. But as Paul Heyman said during this, and I quote, "The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result." And that's far and away the biggest problem of Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw has so many problems. Let's not kid ourselves. But if you want to know from this Raw guy what the biggest problem for Monday Night Raw is and why SmackDown Live whoops us every single week in and week out, month after month, that's the biggest problem of them all. Repetitiveness. Same thing over and over and over again. And it drives me to the point where I honestly don't want to care about this anymore. I mean, I just want this nonsense to end. I mean, Roman Reigns keeps getting all these opportunities. Brock Lesnar, the Universal Champion, who only shows up and defends the belt every 4 months, like clockwork. Yeah. But hopefully August the 19th in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, in the SummerSlam, one way or another, I just hope this ends. That's all I can say on that. So I'm just going to park it there. Fine segment, yes, but it's just more of the same. It's repetitive, and that's why Monday Night Raw keeps getting whooped by MF and SmackDown Live each and every week, much to his delight and much to my chagrin. So just going to park it there. MF, your thoughts on an opening segment that we've seen how many times before? A gazillion?
Yeah, and it was solid. It was good, but like you said, Anthony, we've seen this song and dance time after time after time. Roman said the same thing about Brock going into WrestleMania. He said the same thing about him going into the Greatest Royal Rumble. And now he's saying the same song and dance dog and pony show that he's going into SummerSlam. And it gets to a point where it's just going to be enough is enough. Now, Heyman threw that scenario about that when Brock beats Roman, that, you know, he's going to go on to the UFC and become the first ever two-sport champion in the history of the world, to be the WWE Universal Champion and to be the UFC Heavyweight Champion as well. No man in any sport that I could ever know of or thought of has ever pulled that feat off. I don't think he will. I honestly believe he will lose the Universal title at SummerSlam, because obviously once that contract runs out, then they're going to focus on what it is. But I will give you this. I respect the fact of them making Lesnar look like he doesn't care about WWE, and they're really trying to make Roman a real sympathetic figure now, saying, you know what, it would be great to see Roman Reigns win the belt. You're falling right into the trap, WWE Universe. That's what McMahon wants you to believe. I think the IWC realizes better than anybody else that obviously we don't want Roman to win. We don't want Brock to win. So what's the alternative? Well, obviously there's a monster among men who's got the money in the bank. And that would be one great scenario. Have him win the belt and him as Universal Champion. But there's actually a problem with that, because now you threw that little monkey wrench in where if Kevin Owens wins, he gets the money in the bank, and that opens the door for Owens to be the Universal Champion again. And the last time I remember, I don't think a lot of us really cared that much about Kevin Owens as Universal Champion or his run as the Universal Champion. So now we're in a conundrum. Where do we go from here? So we'll have to wait and see. But my pick is that I believe that we'll probably guess that, you know, obviously Roman's going to win the belt, because that'll make the belt now available, and the belt will no longer be held hostage, like Didi Woodson has said in the past. So we know Roman's going to win the belt. Is he going out of Barclays with the Universal Championship? Yes or no? That remains to be seen, but we'll see. All I know is that right now, this was solid. I even liked what Heyman was doing, you know, trying to, you know, kind of give that little bit of enticement, but there's really nothing more to say. So, Mike Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, it is a fine segment, and I do agree this is the second best segment of the night, but I have to agree with everyone here. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing over and over and over and over again. The same repetitiveness, saying, oh, Roman's going to beat down Brock Lesnar. How many times did he said? I mean, he said it 3 times. And what happened? He struck out all 3 times. I mean, come on, WWE. I mean, why is Roman getting a title shot time after time after time after time? You know the IWC is going to poo-poo all over this. I mean, if you didn't want the IWC to poo-poo all over it, here's the thing. You should have had Bobby Lashley go over. Then I would have been more interested in it. And you know the Brooklyn crowd's going to be crapping all over this match. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they try to take over the main event or try to hijack it, for goodness sakes. I mean, The only thing that I think would save it is if we get a cash in from the monster or Mr. Monster in the Bank, Braun Strowman. And as a matter of fact, I think he's a more deserving champion than Roman Reigns. Because I don't want to see Kevin Owens win that matchup with Braun Strowman. Because if he wins and he cashes it in, I'm gonna poo all over his Universal title reign. So fine segment, but like I said, it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and I'm getting sick of it. And that is why Monday Night Raw has been sucking ass lately. So I'm just gonna park it there. Dee Woodson, it's yours.
Yeah, you tossed it to me right when Tiger decides he wants to jump around here. Yeah, okay,
Looks
guys.
like you got your hands full.
Yeah. Tiger's been a little troublemaker tonight, so.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Glad I'm not in your position.
Well, the story behind the cats is this one here, Callie, Michael brought home a couple of years ago. It'll be 2 years here in August when he brought her home. And right before her first birthday, of course, we got her fixed. Well, this one came home, it'll be a year in September, and he's not fixed. So you can imagine what we get between a not fixed male and a fixed female, and a lot of little cat fights that go around. My best analogy for it was if you've seen The Lion King, Simba, Nala. Nala always wins. So, yeah. Enough about that. Hey, chill. Okay. Opening segment. Yeah, we all know we're not real crazy about Roman Reigns being in this position, but, it is what it is. It's what we were dealt. And, if we had to suffer through it, we have to suffer through it. So, out of the two guys, even though I don't want to see either one of them win, I would rather see Roman Reigns win, just so we know that we have the title back on Raw instead of having a little biatch holding it. As for Strowman and Kevin Owens, yeah, I think Strowman should hang on to it. He's a lot more deserving of it than Kevin Owens or Reigns or even Lesnar. So, second best segment of the night. But, for what we get on Raw, it was definitely a storyline building segment, in a way. In fact, the whole show was basically wrapped around Lesnar tonight. So, a lot of little backstage segments with Lesnar and Heyman. So, not much more I'm going to say about it. Florio, it's yours.
All right, now let's get into the in-ring action of the evening. We started it off with a return match from Extreme Rules. Finn Balor squaring off against the Constable, Baron Corbin. Winner of the match. And, wow, I can't believe I'm saying this. 20 minutes and 15 seconds. It's the Constable, Baron Corbin. Whoa. MF, fight of the night?
I gotta say yes, by default. This was a really good match. This was a solid fight, way better than the pay-per-view match. I was even enthralled. And normally I kind of like to be that sinister Raw, the sinister. I'm the SmackDown guy. I could care less what you guys do on Raw. Whatever you want to say, I am. But even I was like, wow. All right, not bad. Well done, guys. Good job. You piqued my interest. I don't mind the Constable winning the match. It definitely will prolong the storyline a little while longer. At the end of the day, I could give this easily 3.5 stars. This was easily a 3.5 star fight, a fight of the night, no doubt about it. I can't argue with anything bad. I don't think there was really anything bad. Maybe a little bit of, a commercial coming in out of nowhere that maybe slow the flow a little bit, but our theory is that the higher the rating is because of the fact that regardless of the commercial, if it comes out and it's still hot, if it's still better, if it works, despite the commercial break, that we still honor it and award it as far as we go. This one could have been, if this didn't have the commercial break, this could have been 3.75 to near 4. Like, it was that kind of match. I'm going to say it like this. Let's say it like this. You put this on pay-per-view and you give them that body of work minus the commercial breaks, this is easily a 4-star fight. Easily a 4-star fight. But even though the commercial was in it, it didn't lose its momentum. For me, solid TV quality match, 3.5 stars. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, 3.5 stars is my rating, and this was indeed the fight of the night. I mean, going into this, I was thinking, this is going to be another average, mediocre match with these two, but they over-delivered and then some. And, yeah, for it to go that long, I have to give it 3.5 stars. And obviously with Finn Balor winning at Extreme Rules, you kind of figured that they had to give the Constable Baron Corbin the victory back. And I know we're probably going to get a rubber match, and I got a feeling maybe this time around that this is probably going to be something not so good, but who knows? I mean, they could surprise us yet again, but we'll just have to wait and see. So 3.5 stars, fight of the night. Dee Woodson, it's yours.
I agree. 3.5 stars. It is the fight of the night. And I agree with Fletch. If this was on pay-per-view, it probably would be a 4-star bout because there wouldn't be the commercials in it that we had tonight. But yeah, I mean, it was an awesome match. So I'm not going to say too much more on it. Florio, it's yours.
Without a doubt, I'll make it unanimous. 3.5 stars, fight of the night. I mean, Bullock's exactly right. I mean, when Bullock and I had our Raw chat tonight, going into this, we were like, oh, geez, this is probably going to be, another average fight. It's probably going to be like a 2.5 to 3-star match at best. But no, this thing over-delivered. Got way more time than we thought it would. 3.5 stars. Two commercial breaks during this match. Not one, but two. And usually, Bullock and I, when we do our Raw chats or SmackDown chats or what have you, when a match has has at least 2 or more commercial breaks, it usually means that it's going to be a damn good match. And exactly what happened here. I mean, say what you want about Constable Baron Corbin, and yes, he is, the character is getting on my last nerve, but it doesn't take away the fact that he actually can wrestle. He is a solid wrestler. I mean, he's not the best, but he's a solid wrestler. And, leave it to Finn Balor to get a more than passable match out of him. And that's another theory that Bullock and I talked about during our Raw chat tonight. That's what we said. I mean, there are times where, we see a gifted performer like a Finn Balor go up against an average, mediocre, in the middle kind of performer like a Baron Corbin. And, leave it to the gifted performer to get at least a passable, maybe even a more than passable match out of the so-so worker. But yeah, Finn Balor. I mean, he made the Constable look good tonight, and Constable gets the win back, which I'm not surprised. I mean, Balor went over at Extreme Rules. Corbin gets the win here. Don't be surprised if in the SummerSlam we get a rubber match between these two. It wouldn't surprise me at all. And who knows? Maybe they'll have Finn Balor do his infamous demon entrance for once. I mean, maybe this could end up, there were some chicanery after the match. I mean, Corbin, went back for some more after the match, and who knows, that could ignite the demon character to come out of Finn Balor. And if that's the case, Brooklyn could be in for a third consecutive SummerSlam demon entrance. And if that happens, the previous 2 times he came out as the demon, well, last year he went over Bray Wyatt, and the year before that became the first ever Universal Champion. So we'll see. So 3.5 stars, I agree. Fight of the night, very strong match. It received more time than we all could have expected. And we're going to get a rubber match in the SummerSlam. So we're just going to park it there. So moving on here, we had, I talked to Bullock about this, and I asked him if there should be a cutout. He said yes, and we'll see if MF and Didi feel the same way. Natalya with Ronda Rousey in her corner. Yes, the Rowdy one, back from suspension. Went up against Alicia Fox with Alexa Bliss in her corner. Now, Mickie James is out with an injury, so Alicia Fox is now was handpicked by Alexa Bliss to go into this match. So, but when all was said and done, 5 minutes, the time of the fall, Alicia Fox actually wins the match because of a distraction from Alexa Bliss. And I'm going to honor Bullock's request here. I mean, Bullock wanted this to be a cutout, and yes, Bullock, I'll honor your request. I'll make this a cutout here. But after the match, I mean, if you noticed, the Rowdy one and Alicia Fox got into it. Of course, Alexa Bliss got involved as well. And next week on Monday Night Raw, for the first time ever, Ronda Rousey is going to compete in a match on Monday Night Raw against Alicia Fox. So we'll see what happens there. As far as the match is concerned, it's a 1-star bout. I mean, I'm not going to say too much more on it. So then there was a segment with Elias, playing his guitar and all that, and then interrupted by Bobby Lashley, and then they get into it, and the whole 9 yards. But I want to get back to the Natalya and Alicia thing for a minute, because I take it for a spin when there's a cutout. The finish of that may be important, or it could turn out to be a trivial thing. I mean, it's interesting that Ronda Rousey was lured in by Alicia Fox, which ended up being Natalya's downfall in the bout. And it's not the type of thing that I expect them to base a full Natalya turn on. But it is one of those things that could be used if they decide to have Natalya deliver one of those promos where she points to various examples to explain her heel logic if they opt to take that approach. Maybe at the Evolution pay-per-view. You don't know. Very possible. But, I mean, so as far as the Elias and Lashley segment goes, that's another cutout segment here. I mean, Elias, doing his thing, and then Lashley comes in, but you noticed Elias called out The Rock. So does this mean we should move Elias up the list of potential Rock opponents if the rumors of a WrestleMania match interest are accurate? We'll see, but I don't know. But what I do know is I think we're going to probably get a match with Bobby Lashley and Elias at SummerSlam. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. That looks like that's where they're headed. Damn shame, because I think, Bullock said it earlier, Lashley should have been the one going up against Lesnar. I mean, I heard dirt sheets that they wanted to do a Lashley and Lesnar program, and that would have been the perfect time to do it. But, oh well, is what it is. Okay, and then we have Braun Strowman against Jinder Mahal, as Bullock and I call him. And when all was said and done, winner of the match via a countout in 1 minute and 35 seconds, it was Jinder Mahal because of a distraction by Kevin Owens. All right, now let's be realistic. This was another. This to me was the worst fight of the night. This was an absolute dud. I'm just gonna call it a straight up dud here. I mean, but you got to consider this somewhat a storyline progression. I mean, because there is the match at SummerSlam with Owens and Strowman, where if Braun Strowman loses in any fashion, pinfall, submission, countout, or disqualification, he loses the Money in the Bank contract to Kevin Owens. And what happened tonight? Braun Strowman gets counted out. I kind of like that approach, honestly. I mean, no one's going to buy the possibility of Owens beating Braun Strowman by a pinfall or submission. But the stipulation is that Owens will win the contract even if he wins by a DQ or a countout. Thus, it is logical to show him coming up with a plan that resulted in Owens costing him the match in such a manner. So I kind of might give that a slide, even though the fight was an absolute dud. Yes, more cutouts here. I know MF Bullock and Didi are restless. Don't worry. There's going to be some relevant stuff coming up shortly. Hang in there. ACOM of the Authors of Pain against Apollo Crews of Titus Worldwide. Apollo Crews wins the match in 1 minute and 55 seconds with the dreaded roll-up. Minute 55 seconds. Another match. No comment. I mean,
all I'm gonna say is this would have prompted me to go all Jesse the Body Ventura. This probably would, like, if we were doing a 3-man booth, you as the lead commentator, me as the Corey Graves, Bullock as the coach or Saxton, whatever. This probably would have prompted me to say there's no way Apollo Crews would have won that fight. He was either holding the tights or his feet were on the rope. There's no way in hell he's keeping that big man down for 3.
Yes, indeed. And you know, you actually brought up something there, MF. I mean, you actually brought up a memory. Jesse Ventura actually did that commentary when on a Saturday night's main event, November the 29th of 86 at the LA Sports Arena, when Coco Beware got a fall on, Nikolai Volkov. I mean, he did the roll-up, and Jesse just said the exact same thing. There's no way he held him down for 3. I mean, that's exactly right. But if we were doing Monday Night Raw, you know, yes, I would be the Michael Cole, MF would be the Corey Graves, and Bullock would be, by default, Jonathan Coachman, even though, of course, well documented, I think of him more as a Byron Saxton, really. But when it comes to this show, I consider myself Vince McMahon. I think of MF as Jim Ross and Michael Bullock as Jerry the King Lawler by default, back when those 3 were running things in the 90s. And, you know, watching back a couple of their events recently, I mean, that's all I kept thinking about. I mean, me as the Vince McMahon, you know, as like the host, if you will, and MF doing the play-by-play / analyst role, which he does very well. I mean, that's why he is our JR after all. So, anywho, great point, MF. You absolutely made a great point there. Absolutely. So, all right, now we can finally get back into some relevant stuff here. Seth Rollins against Drew McIntyre. Seth Rollins wins the match via a disqualification in 8 minutes and 15 seconds. So I believe it's Michael Bullock who starts it off here. So yeah, Bullock, not as good as the last match they had, but it was still a good match. But it was on its way to being a good match until, of course, Dolph Ziggler had to get involved.
Yeah, it was on its way to being a good match, but Dolph Ziggler had to get involved. So I'm only going to give this about 2 to 2.25 stars. I mean, if it weren't for the DQ finish, I could have given it a much higher rating. But because of the DQ finish, I cannot go any higher than that. So, I mean, it was, like I said, it was a good match until the Intercontinental Champ had to get involved. So there's really nothing more that needs to be said. So Didi Woodson, I give it to you. And Tiger, do us a favor. Please be quiet.
Yeah, I'd love that. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to give it about 2 stars. Not going to go much higher than that because of the finish. Drew McIntyre, when you go figure out that Ziggler is just using you and riding your coattails, ditch him, then you win some matches. I guarantee you that. It was still a good match, though. I mean, the guys definitely took each other to the limits until Bozo decided to jump in and put his 2 cents in. And supposedly think he's helping his partner, but actually costing his partner the match. So, not much more I'm going to say about it. Floria, what's yours?
I'm actually this is one of the rare times I'm actually going to disagree here. Yes, there was a DQ finish, yes, but the match, there was still some good action throughout this match. And I got to say, this for me was the second best match of the night. I'm going to give this a solid 3 stars for the effort. I mean, this was a good match despite being fairly brief. And I hope that they give these two the amount of time they gave Finn Balor and Baron Corbin in their opening match. They do work very well together. And the broadcast team did a nice job with the finish. I mean, Michael Cole implied that Rollins was going to win, and that's why Ziggler interfered. And Graves made his case for the outcome not being a lock, and Cole stood his ground and pointed out that Rollins did hit the curb stomp. And that's that was pretty much it. So that's really all we can say on that. So for me, solid 3 stars. So MF, the age-old question: who do you agree with, Bullock and Didi, or do you agree with me?
Well, tonight I'm gonna go with you, Anthony Floyer. I'm gonna jump into catbird seat with you. Make some room. 3 stars is my rating. Second best fight of the night. I agree with that. Solid action, good match. Could have been better in some spots. I guess you could say the finish kind of was a little bit of a wonky finish, but kind of in the grand scheme of things, that was kind of expected. So nothing more to say about it. So let's just go and just move on.
All right, and we move on to, let's see here. Another cutout segment, even though one part of this cutout segment actually made me very happy to see. My girl, Charlie Caruso, standing in the ring, interviewing our Raw Tag Team Champions, the B Team. And then they got interrupted by the former champions, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. And then they get interrupted by the Revival. And then all hell breaks loose. And then we get ourselves an impromptu tag team matchup with the Revival squaring off against Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. And when all was said and done, winners of the match, I'm not sure about the time, but the winners of the match nonetheless, what's this? The Revival. Say yeah. The Revival actually picks up the win here. I mean, time of the fall there was about 5 minutes and 5 seconds. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I got to give it a solid 2 for the effort. I mean, yeah, it's another cutout match. I'm sure these guys don't want to get into it, and that's fine. But I think this might be finally the opportunity that I've been waiting for. I mean, I've been wanting to see the Revival, get an opportunity at the Raw Tag Team Championship. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I think with this win tonight, I think the Revival are going to be the next challengers for Hardy and Wyatt. It was an okay match. Right team definitely won. I've been very high on the Revival since they were in NXT, and I felt that they were a part of the Burial Club for a little bit of time, but at least now they're finally getting it. They're giving them an opportunity, and I would not be surprised if come SummerSlam we see the Revival go up against the B Team for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Maybe on the kickoff show, maybe even the main card if they have enough time. I don't know. We'll see. But nonetheless, let's move on to this women's tag team matchup here. Sasha Banks and Bayley squaring off against the two members of the two current active members of the Riot Squad, Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. Of course, Ruby Riott still out with injury. And hey, Sasha Banks and Bayley pick up the win in 8 minutes and 50 seconds. And Didi Whitson, before I started with you. I want to point out something. Michael Cole made a dipsy-do botcheroo on commentary that Bullock and I picked up when the referee's hand hit the for the third time. Cole said, "And a kick out," but then he said, "Oh, it's a victory." Okay, but I love my guy Michael Cole, but
that was actually the second time he screwed up.
Your thoughts on the match, nonetheless?
That was the second time Cole screwed up, because the first time he screwed up was in the opening bout when I think it was Finn that was down and out, and he said it was Corbin that was down and out. So that was like the second major botcheroo, he said, for the whole night. Yeah, I think it's about time we retired Michael Cole, because he's certainly losing it on the announce table. As for the match, I was thoroughly impressed. I like the new little name Banks and Bailey have for each other. It reminds me of the Rock and Sock connection, being the Boss and Huggers, or Boss and Hugs connection. They did very well tonight against the Riot Squad, or what's remaining of them right now. I'm going to give them 2 3/4 of a star. Strong showing with the girls, and this is turning out to be a pretty good little rivalry that they've got. And another reason why I think a lot of us are wanting to see a women's tag team belt finally come out of this. So that's the next thing we're kind of going for. Here we've got the pay-per-view. We've had all these matches. Now let's get the girls a tag team belt. So not much more I'm going to say. Florio, cheers.
I'm gonna slightly disagree. 2.5. That's my rating for this. Yeah, we talked about the flub by Michael Cole, who mistakenly said that the finish resulted in a kick out, but he did immediately correct himself. But all is right in the world of Banks and Bailey. Are they going to be the first Raw Women's Tag Team Champions? Are they building to a breakup? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But like Dee Dee said, I mean, it was a solid match. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be all that good, but they gave them a decent amount of time, and they did their best with it, and because of that, I will round this out as the top 3. This to me is the 3rd best fight of the night, behind the Rollins and McIntyre, and of course the one that surprisingly stole the show, which was Balor and Corbin, which none of us saw coming, but they did. But nonetheless, I mean, let me see. Try to find my train of thought. A solid little tag match there with Bailey and Sasha staying on the same page for now, and we'll see if this leads to anything down the road. So we'll just park it there. 2.5 stars for me. 3rd best fight of the night. So MF, I mean, what do you make of all this?
2.5 stars. Agreed with everything that you said. Solid fight, solid match. Well done, beautifully done. I thought a lot of things, Sasha and Bailey, you never know with them. One day it looks like everything's going good. Next day it looks like everything's going bad. You just don't know with them. But all of a sudden lately, they're looking like that unified team. They look like the besties are back together. I could say something, but I don't want to draw the ire of Michael Bullock, but I got to give credit where credit's due. The Doctor did it. He might have been able to save yet another team together and bring the forces together. You never know. He did it with Team Hell No. He might have just done it with Bailey and Sasha. Mike Bullock's friend, the good old Doctor, might have did it. You don't know, but I probably drew the ire of Bullock right about now. But it is what it is.
You did. I mean, I was trying to keep Dr. Shelby out of my head, but now that you brought him back up, now he's in my head again. Thanks a lot, Fletch.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome, Bullock. Yeah, I'm here all week. You got to deal with me tomorrow night on Cerebral Smack Talk 2. So anyway, but it's
that's a totally different story, since it'll be the Cerebral Smack Talk.
Exactly. 2.5 stars my rating for the match. Dee Dee Winston's dying over there. She's trying to hide the laughter with the cats in front of them, but she's dying right now. So go ahead, Bullock. It's yours.
Yeah, 2.5 stars. I mean, I really don't know what to say after this whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it's just strange to me. Like, now it seems like they're back on the same page, and now the thing is, can it actually last long? We'll just have to wait and see. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. What's in it's yours? I don't know how the cats feel about it.
No, Didi let off.
Oh,
Didi
I'm sorry. Well, I think it's main event segment time.
Yeah, but before we move on, you know, with the way that Bullock just said, he just brought it back in. I mean, I just had a flashback to WrestleMania 5 when Gorilla and Jesse had that little moment before the start of the Jake the Snake Andre match when Big John Studd was making his way down, talking about Jesse as the referee in the SummerSlam '88. I mean, yeah, I just had a moment right there. It was exactly the same thing, only it was with MF and Bullock. I mean, that's usually me and MF right there, but and to fully put it to rest here, anytime we can make Didi Woodson laugh, it's a good show. So with all that being said, let's move on now to the main event segment of the evening, which of course was General Manager Kurt Angle coming to the ring with the Constable Baron Corbin, and you know, he basically was calling out Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar to show up, and Paul Heyman comes out and just as, you know, and then Kurt Angle says, "Your contract's terminated. You're done. Brock Lesnar's not coming. You're done." And then all of a sudden, here comes Brock Lesnar out of nowhere, and Brock Lesnar lays out Kurt Angle with an F5, shades of 15 years ago when they were feuding for the WWE Championship, and then he goes and attacks Heyman. He chokes out Heyman. Whoa, okay. Wow. Nothing left for me to say here. This was the segment of the night. I mean, okay, I love this Brock Lesnar. And Lesnar, let's be realistic, he's always a badass, but this gave him a new edge and this actually creates some interesting storyline possibilities. I mean, Heyman was excellent as always, and Kurt Angle brought some great intensity, you know, talking about Brock Lesnar not being there and, you know, how a champion should be. I agree with everything he said, and I know Bullock did too when we were going crazy over this as we were wrapping up our Raw chat. But man alive, I mean, this was a great way to end the show, and we actually have some possibilities here. I mean, is this the end of Lesnar and Heyman? I mean, could Lesnar actually could Lesnar actually come out on his own against Roman in the SummerSlam? Who knows? I mean, Roman was taken out of the arena by order of Stephanie McMahon and Constable Corbin, and in an effort to save the match, and they obviously did a good job because Roman did not show up. I was kind of expecting Roman to show up and, you know, defy authority, but no, he didn't. So we still got a couple more weeks to build this thing up. So, but this actually took an interesting turn here. So for me, this was the segment of the night. Interesting turn of events here. So, MF, could this be the end of the epic partnership with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman? I mean, you got to think based on that, what we saw, Lesnar choking out Heyman and laying out Angle. I mean, oh boy, wow.
I gotta say, it's possible, but it also leads to a scenario that I didn't think was going to happen. Now I'm thinking more and more and more like it might happen. We might see Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman break up, but I think Paul Heyman is going to align himself with Roman Reigns or with somebody else, because everybody knows Paul Heyman is his own man. He's his own entity. Paul Heyman guy is not just a faction. It's a way of life. It's like anything. When you become a Paul Heyman guy, your career is solidified. Look at CM Punk. Look at Brock Lesnar. Look at the time when he was with Antonio Cesaro. But Cesaro was a fallen entity because WWE made him a fallen entity. That was a failure on WWE's part, not Paul Heyman. Even when Paul Heyman acquired Curtis Axel and he became the Intercontinental Champion, Curtis Axel, the son of legendary Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig, and he turned him into something big. There's rumors going around that Heyman might align himself with Roman Reigns. There's even talk about him possibly aligning himself with Ronda Rousey. Whatever Heyman does after SummerSlam, after Brock loses the Universal title, it's going to be a story and something on its own. And let me tell you, whatever Heyman does turns to pretty much gold. Anything he does, promo-wise, storyline-wise, he's such a good actor. He's such a good player. He's such a good guy. And let me tell you, not everybody loves him. He's burned too many bridges. He's done so many things, deceitful things, and messed up things in his career. It's not even funny. I know not everybody loves Paul Heyman. I get that. But whatever he does, it's going to be very interesting. Now, as far as Brock goes, he doesn't give a damn about what anybody thinks. He marches to the beat of his own drummer. And remember, Heyman threw Brock under the bus a little bit. He did throw a little bit of some savvy when Angle basically called him the worst Universal Champion ever. Okay, fair enough. Granted, I'm not going to disagree with that. I think we all can agree. Yeah, out of Universal Champions, out of the Universal Champions that they had, that it is what it is. It is what it is. So I got nothing more to say about it. It's just, it is what it is. It happens. No problem with it whatsoever. So, I mean, it's all good. But as far as what the next thing goes, what the future may be, I don't know. All I know is that it's good. It was solid. Like I said, Brock went on a rampage at the end. Very rare, where obviously he was going to go after Angle, because when you call somebody and when you tell them, oh, you're the worst Universal Champion ever, I mean, come on. I would get pissed off at that. Hell, I would be going after Kurt Angle. I don't give a damn who the hell you are. You're calling me a crap champion? You're calling me an unlikable champion? Who the hell are you to say that? So, obviously, Lesnar's going to go off. And he had a right to go after Heyman as well. After he basically threw Lesnar under the bus. Okay. So, right or wrong, whatever you may feel, Lesnar is gonna beat to the march of his own drum. Not a problem whatsoever. All I know is that this was pretty solid. This was good. But did you hear what the fans said? Did you hear what they were saying in Miami? We want Roman. Excuse me? Who are you, fans? What are you doing? You're not an IWC crowd. Because normally, weren't you the ones that was booing the living hell out of Roman Reigns earlier in the night? And now all of a sudden, you want him back in the building? Okay, this is what WWE was hoping for. This is what WWE wanted it. This is what Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, and all of the monkey writers were hoping for. That the fans were so tired and so heated about Brock Lesnar and his actions and his attitude that this would be the moment that the fans would side with Roman Reigns. Congratulations, you stupid crowd in Miami. You fell for it hook, line, and sinker. That's why your Marlins suck. in baseball right about now. And last thing, I'll even openly admit it. The only good thing about Miami is the Miami Dolphins. Other than that, kiss my butt. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Damn, Fletch, tell us how you really feel. Woo-wee. And we even got D.D. Woodson laughing after all that. I mean, oh my. But yeah, this was the segment of the night. I mean, Brock Lesnar was indeed a badass. I mean, not only taking out Kurt Angle because he took offense to what he said, and you know what? I don't care. What Kurt Angle said was so true. It was so true. And if Brock Lesnar's got a problem with it, then too damn bad. And I'm even going to send a message to Brock Lesnar myself via the show. You are indeed the worst Universal Champion ever. Because the is supposed to be defended whether it's on a Raw or even on a pay-per-view. And what do? You sit your ass at home and don't do a damn thing. All you do is show up at other companies like the UFC and challenge someone like Daniel Cormier. Why don't you fulfill your obligations, show up on Raw or any pay-per-view to defend your title? But what do? You decide to act like an asshole and feel like, oh, I don't give a damn. I can do whatever the hell I want. No, you work for Vince McMahon. You work for Kurt Angle on Monday Night Raw. And you got a problem with that? Well, I got a problem with you, you piece of garbage. And you know what? I'm glad you got screwed at SummerSlam 2015 by my all-time favorite, The Undertaker. Because that was the ultimate F-you to you. And you know what? If The Undertaker was ever in the ring with you again, he would screw you again. And if you don't like it, that's too damn bad. Because you know what? You brought it all on yourself. That's the problem with you as a part-time wrestler. You defend it on your own terms. That's why Monday Night Raw sucks. Because where's the Universal title? You just want to be at home with it every single time. And you know what? If you got a problem with what I just said right now, well, I know I may get in trouble for this, but you know what? I don't care. I'm so fired up with Brock Lesnar. So here's my message to you, Brock Lesnar, you piece of garbage. Segment of the night. Nothing more to say. D.D. Woodson, it's yours.
Yeah, it's a segment of the night, and I think we all know what Brock Lesnar would rather be doing. For those that are living in the dark ages, of course, he's married to Sable. And in one of my kids' opinions, the only reason Brock Lesnar has this championship is because apparently Sable is probably holding it over Vince McMahon's head for all the trash he treated her when she was on WWE. But that's one of my kids' opinions. I totally agree with Kurt Angle. He is the worst champion we've had. They say Cena is the one that has only 5 moves. Well, Brock doesn't have very many moves either. I don't think he wrestles very well. He's dangerous.
And you know what? Cena's a better wrestler than Lesnar.
If my memory serves right, I think Cena has been one of the wrestlers that actually has beaten Brock Lesnar. And if I know Cena used to have his FU as, the other word. And that's pretty much my message to Lesnar, FU. I do think that Lesnar's done with Heyman, especially after the backstage segment where he asked him, about him bleaching onto him and stuff like that. So, I think that we're going to see Heyman probably moving on to somebody else. And we'll see how well Lesnar can cut promos on his own with his little squeaky voice and handle things without a handler, because we all know he gets angry very easily and he doesn't know how to control his temper. And like I said, he's a danger to other wrestlers. So, yeah. And Corbin, you're a chicken. There's another word I'd like to attach onto it, but I'm not going to do it out of respect for Florio. But Corbin, you're a chicken. Backing out after you see what happens to Angle, just because you don't want to get hurt. You stood there quietly, agreeing with everything Kurt Angle said, and then once you see him get slammed, you decide to just tiptoe your way out of the ring so that you don't get hurt. You're a chicken. Get in there. You're taller than this idiot. Get in there. You're supposed to be the constable. Get in there and be a constable. Stop being a chicken and do your job if that's what you're supposed to be. No one likes you anyway, Corbin. Let Lesnar do whatever he wills with you. I don't give a crap. So, like I said, definitely segment of the night. So, not much more I'm going to say about it. Let's move on.
And we move on to the overall thoughts of the show tonight. MF, we started with you. What do we think? Another meh show, better show? What?
Fletcher, you there? You know, why don't we let Dee Dee Woodson lead off on this, since she's probably got to go anyway.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. All right, Dee Dee Woodson, let's get your thoughts on this Monday Night Raw tonight.
Yeah, because I'm going to have to go put these two down since we just had a mini cat fight just now. So I was going to go meh, but I think I'm going to go up to maybe a 6 out of 10. Just because there was storyline progression, and we did have some pretty good segments, some pretty good matches. Yeah, we still had a lot of cutouts, a lot of crap, but Callie, stop it. But in the end, I mean, just seeing what happened there on the main event segment, I think made the whole night worth it. So, you got a few things you need to work on, Raw, but still not entirely a bad show. One thing you guys need to do is you need to learn a little bit about how police escorts work, because Roman Reigns should have been allowed to take his stuff out with him. That's what any police escort would do. They would not let you leave your stuff behind. Being a cop's daughter, I should know that. So, you writers, if you're going to write stuff like this, do your homework. But I will say you guys did at least a smidge better. So, not much more I'm going to say about it, because I think we've pretty much kind of covered all of it, and I know you'll cover even more when I'm gone. So I will see you guys tomorrow night. Good night.
All right. Good night, Dee Dee Woodson. We'll see you tomorrow night for this Rebel Smack Talk, as always, with MF on Race Fair 95. So let's get into my thoughts of this show tonight. I'm inclined to agree with Dee Dee, even though I was leaning more towards 5 out of 10, honestly. But I could probably maybe make an exception for that. Maybe like within the 5 to 6 range. I mean, it was still another meh show as usual. I mean, repetitiveness was the word of the day. But hey, I mean, Brock Lesnar actually made things interesting. They got the crowd chanting for Roman, and they teased the split with Heyman and Brock. And are they going to will this actually make the crowd care at SummerSlam, or are they going to rebel again? Are they going to poo-poo all over it? We'll see. But Raw does. Well, here's my one negative about it. I mean, Raw does continue to be a chore to get through. I mean, it's far from a horrible show, but there's just so much filler nonsense cutouts that doesn't matter, does not matter, or just bad booking, like what happened to poor Akon of the AOP. I mean, feeding him to Apollo Crews. I still don't get that. And then we basically have to struggle to find the good in it. I mean, yes, there was some okay build to SummerSlam, like Didi said, some okay to solid wrestling overall. We had 3 good matches tonight. Corbin and Balor surprising the hell out of all of us and that becoming the fight of the night. Rollins and McIntyre, another solid outing, and then a decent women's match, that women's tag team matchup. But and the angle at the end with Brock Lesnar made it more interesting than it has in some time. And I don't know if it's going to be enough to save the SummerSlam match with Brock and Roman, but we'll have to wait and see. But nonetheless, within the range of like 5, maybe 6. I mean, between 5 and 6 out of 10. That's what I'm going to give this show here tonight. So really nothing more to say. I don't know if MF's back in yet. Hopefully he is. And if he is, we'll get his thoughts on his overall thoughts. Okay, there he is. All right, MF. Didi gave it a 6. I'm within that 5 to 6 range. What about you?
5.5. 5.5 out of 10. I totally agree with what you guys were saying, though. There was a lot more storyline progression tonight than it was in other weeks, but still, the cutouts, the fillers, it kind of made it an okay show, but it you still got a lot of work to do. That's the best. That's really the grand scheme, is that you still got work to do, but at least one day at a time. It's getting better, so it's not a total disaster. It's not a total loss, but it's pretty good. Not bad, guys. So nothing more to say. And I guess I can hand this off to Bullock.
Yeah.
All right. So Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, 5.5 to 6 out of 10 is my rating. I mean, like you said, the filler, continue to rain out. Even though there were some good matches, some good segments, some good build up to SummerSlam. So yeah, I mean, there's really nothing more that needs to be said. You pretty much touched on everything. So yeah. So with that being said, Florio, I think it's time for your Tony steak.
I think it is time for that too. Of course, next week on Monday Night Raw, we want to let you know Bobby Roode will score off against Mojo Rawley, and Ronda Rousey makes her Monday Night Raw debut against Alicia Fox. So we'll see how that goes. So now it's time for the Tony's Take, and 205 Live starts it up as always. One-on-one match, Akira Tozawa against Jack Gallagher. Winner of the match in 7 minutes and 22 seconds, Akira Tozawa. Solid 3 stars. Good, hard-fought back-and-forth match that made the Styles Clash work, and they gave Tozawa a big rebound win. Then we had Lince Dorado and Kalisto in a squash match against a couple of Hammonagers. They won it in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Yeah, fun squash from the Lucha House Party, I guess. Even though I don't like squash matches myself, but, it is what it is. Big main event here. Fatal 4-way, number 1 contenders match. Drew Gulak, Hideo Itami, TJP, Mustafa Ali. Winner of the match will get the challenge, will be the next challenger for Cedric Alexander in the Cruiserweight Championship. When all was said and done, the winner of the match in 14 minutes and 5 seconds and the number 1 contender for the Cruiserweight Championship is Drew Gulak. Drew Gulak wins it with a submission hold on Mustafa Ali. Fight of the night, 3 1/4 stars. It was a bit disjointed early on, but it was an overall good main event, and I'm glad that Gulak's getting the title shot. I mean, Hideo Itami really fell out of place with his interactions with Gulak and Ali, but it turned around well, and the finish protects Ali, and it also sets up another intriguing matchup with Mustafa Ali and Hideo Itami. It was good, but it was missing something. That's all I can say on that. Another solid 7 out of 10. This show was pretty much par for the course. It was an easy to watch and good show. Tozawa gets a rebound win. He's looking for revenge on Leo Rush. Lucha House Party picked up a win ahead of their coming feud with Buddy Murphy and Tony Nese. And Drew Gulak, now the new #1 contender for Cedric Alexander. And it was also confirmed earlier today by General Manager Drake Maverick on his Twitter account that this cruiserweight title match with Cedric Alexander and Drew Gulak is actually going to take place at SummerSlam. So a big stage, a big opportunity for these two studs of 205 Live on the grand stage of SummerSlam. I mean, I'm very happy to hear that. But Bullock and I talked about it earlier. We think it's probably going to be on the kickoff show. We wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I believe last year's was on the kickoff show with Neville and Tozawa, but really nothing more to say there. So 7 out of 10, and tomorrow night on 205 Live, it was announced that Cedric Alexander is actually going to go one-on-one with the Brian Kendrick. So that should be an interesting match. So we'll just park it there. Let's move on to Impact Wrestling and the first show after Slammiversary and the epic Slammiversary. We started it off with the World Heavyweight Champion Austin Aries cutting a promo, and then he gets interrupted by Eddie Edwards, and Eddie Edwards lays him out with a kendo stick. So, yeah, this was a very good opening segment. I mean, Aries got to gloat about his win, and they set up a new challenger right away. It was short, simple, and to the point, so we're just going to leave it there. First match of the night, Taiji Ishimori against Petey Williams. Taiji Ishimori wins it 7 minutes and 25 seconds. Solid 3 stars, good back and forth match, a nice pace to kick off the show. And then they got attacked by the Desi Hit Squad after the match, so we could be looking at a tag team match there down the road. Knockouts action, Tessa Blanchard against Rebel. Tessa Blanchard wins it 2.5 minutes. No rating to a dud. I would have been okay. I would have had Tessa, beat her quicker than that, but it was a fine squash nonetheless. Then we had the TV debut of Scarlett Bordeaux, who she was interviewed by Alicia Tout. And, that was a fine segment to say the very least. Don Callis, the Jackal, you remember him on commentary? I mean, he was losing his mind. I mean, it was awesome. Johnny Impact against Trevor Lee. Johnny Impact wins it, 8 minutes and 55 seconds. 2.5 star fight, solid back and forth match that would have been better without all the BS nonsense during that. And then, let's see. Then we had the main event, which was the return match from Slammiversary. X Division title on the line. Brian Cage defending against challenger and former champion Matt Sydal. Winner of the match in 11.5 minutes. And still the X Division champion Brian Cage. 3-star match. Overall good main event with Cage retaining and both guys playing the size difference well. But much like the Slammiversary match, it was good, but it felt as if it was missing something to take it to the next level. 6.5 out of 10 for this show. That's the best I can go. Solid post pay-per-view show with a good opener and main event. Austin Aries being a great a-hole heel and the tease of a title feud with Eddie Edwards. Impact has unfinished business with Congo Kong. Scarlett Bordeaux debuted. Sami Callihan is insane following losing his hair. Ali wants to get revenge on Knockouts champion Su Yung, and Tessa Blanchard picked up another win. Solid work overall as they set the table for some things moving forward. So we'll just leave it there. 6.5 is the appropriate rating for this show. And then, of course, now we're going to look into what we can expect on the next show, which will be this Thursday night. So if anything's out of order or not on the show, I do apologize for that, but I'm just going with what I have. Desi Hit Squad against KM and Falaba. Then we had Ali and Kira Hogan teaming up against Su Yung and one of her undead bridesmaids. The OGs in a squash match. Austin Aries against a local wrestler named Dustin Cameron. And in Dustin Cameron's corner happened to be Anthony Corelli, who, as we all know, Santino Marella. So keep an eye on that. Eli Drake and Trevor Lee against Caleb. Actually, it was a 6-man tag or something like this. Eli Drake and Trevor Lee against Grado and Joe Hendry. And then the main event, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix against OVE. So that all goes down Thursday night on Pop Television, 8 Eastern. And that will just about do it for this this edition of Ridiculously Raw tonight. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. MF, come on in. Let's set the table for Cerebral Smack Talk tomorrow night.
Actually, Anthony, unfortunately, I won't be able to do Cerebral Smack Talk tomorrow night. I am pushing the show to Wednesday night. However, I did want to talk to you guys about this because I want to do a special start time of 9 p.m. Would you guys be okay with a 9 o'clock start on Wednesday night?
I was thinking more the lines of 9:30 or 10.
Bullock?
I'm down with that.
So 9:30? Would 9:30 be fine then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then 9:30 it is. What we're gonna do is SmackDown Live. Then, because we got the Lucha Underground that's shown on that night, we will have the instant recap of Lucha Underground. Again, another 2 weeks worth. Last week's episode and live. The first reactions from that episode from that night, the Wednesday night episode, we'll have it there. 9:30, Braves Fan 95. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Florio, go.
All right, so a special Wednesday night edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk. Looking forward to that. And then from there, we have Friday night, we got Strictly Sports. And yes, we have a docket. And it's almost similar to what we had last week. It's pretty much going to be hot stove stuff again. Kevin Love re-signing with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Vince Carter signing with the Atlanta Hawks. Aaron Judge is out for 3 weeks. We will also have our recap of the Major League Baseball trading deadline and then our Major League Baseball power rankings. So that all goes down Friday night, and that will do it. So until Wednesday night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, it's Anthony Florio here for Good Old MF Michael Fletcher, for Michael Bullock and D.D. Woodson. And in spirit, D.D. Woodson and Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Butcher Boy style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And before we leave you, we want to acknowledge one more time the story of the evening, the passings of Nikolai Volkov, Brian Christopher, and Brickhouse Brown. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. And we thank you all. We thank you guys for Nikolai Volkov, Brian Christopher, and Brickhouse Brown. As you all know, as I always say, doesn't matter what anyone tells you, wrestling is indeed actually real. And for everybody who's been a part of this one now, and Floyo, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye.